So I was initially going to make a video on the Marauder and the stun changes that id Software made when they released the Ancient Gods Part 2, but id Software also updated the Ancient Gods Part 1 and nerfed all 3 of the levels inside of the DLC. And I thought that was more important to talk about for right now at least. I will make a video on the Marauder changes later down the road, but for right now, let's talk about DLC 1. As I said, all 3 levels of the DLC have been nerfed, altered, and made easier than the initial release, with several rooms having less enemies, several arenas having less enemies, and several key areas having less or less powerful enemies. Now this has garnered a ton of not hate, but I guess criticism online from die-hard Doom Eternal fans, and I understand their frustration. It's like if, I don't know, Star Wars was changed, with the special editions, right? It's like something so iconic, something that you really love and poured your soul into. Like many hardcore Doom Eternal fans have, they've played this game and the Ancient Gods Part 1 so much that they've memorized every room, know every encounter, and suddenly, that perfection is changed. And obviously people are upset. But I think this nerf criticism is a bit overblown. I mean, I get in some areas like changing the possessed Baron to a possessed Hell Knight is a little bit lame. Same with removing like one carcass from a room. I think that's a bit pointless, but whatever. And the reason that they nerfed these areas is because of pacing, quote unquote. Now, I assume this is the case. I mean, I trust id Software, but I think the actual reason is just difficulty. And they want the Ancient Gods Part 1 to be more accessible for new players, and I totally get that. They want to cover all their bases and make a product that's good for new players and good for veterans. But I don't think retroactively changing the Ancient Gods Part 1 is the best way to go about it. And I want to provide some, not really advice, but just some thoughts on how they can improve this going forward. So with the Ancient Gods Part 1, they did alter some rooms, and I feel like the best approach for this is either revert it back to the way it was, for Nightmare and maybe even Ultra Violence difficulties, and then have the rooms easier on Hurt Me Plenty or I'm Too Young to Die. So have the easier nerfed rooms on lower difficulties and then just revert it back to the way it was on Ultra Violence and Nightmare. I think this would please both crowds, and even though id Software hasn't really shown any interest of wanting to go back and change the enemy counts or the enemy placement for each difficulty, I think that would be something that would cater to both audiences and would make both audiences, casual and sort of a more hardcore audience, happy. I also think making master level variants of the Ancient Gods Part 1 is a decent idea. I mean, you could have those rooms be reverted back to the way they were and just make them master levels, free content for those who bought the DLC and just want to play the original level. And yes, people might say, well, it's not tied to the campaign and they're just master levels, but still, it's better than nothing. At least you have the unaltered levels there. But I also think that making the difficulty slider, alter the monster placements, would be the best idea going forward. I also know there has been changes to the Arachnotron turret, which again, I feel like if that was tied to the difficulty and the difficulty sliders, maybe on I'm Too Young to Die and Hurt Me Plenty, the Arachnotron turrets would be a little less accurate and he would move less, and then on Ultra Violence and Nightmare, have it to where he basically acts like normal, pre-updates. I think that would be great, and that would, just remove any complaints from any fan. But again, I do think that the complaints are very overblown. I mean, they did alter UAC Atlantica, the most, and I feel like if they altered, the Holt the most, I feel like the criticism wouldn't be as severe because UAC Atlantica is such an acclaimed level, man. Like, UAC Atlantica is regarded as one of the best Doom Eternal levels, period. One of the best Doom reboot levels, period. So the fact that that was altered, first and foremost, and altered the most out of all 3 levels in the Ancient Gods Part 1, is the reason why people are complaining so much. Again, if the Holt was changed, I mean, yes, people would complain, but I don't think it would be at the level of outrage that it is with UAC Atlantica getting changed the most. But that's just me. I feel like that is just an acclaimed level already, and I feel like people just don't want to touch perfection, and id Software wanted to touch perfection, in so many people's eyes at least. I recently played the UAC Atlantica level and the Blood Swamps on Nightmare difficulty, and I did notice the changes. I mean, they are apparent to those who played the game a lot, and I'm not saying I played the game every day or anything, but I did notice some changes. Did they piss me off to the point of, like, not wanting to play anymore? No. Was it kind of jarring at first? Yeah, sure, maybe a little. But again, you adjust, and maybe for those Doom Eternal experts, it's just not good enough, and they feel strongly about it being reverted. I don't really have a strong opinion on it one way or the other. I just feel like, again, the difficulty sliders should determine the enemy placement, and I think that's a good way to go about it. Hopefully this all gets addressed on Hugo's stream, which should be coming out in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, the Ancient Gods Part 1, do you like the nerfed content? Do you like the revised enemy placement? Does it help with the pacing? I mean, I didn't really notice, the pacing increase. I didn't really notice faster pacing. But maybe for newcomers, maybe they, will notice a difference, or maybe it will be faster, who knows. I don't know. I don't really care one way or the other. I mean, yes, I know I'm not the most fucking hardcore Doom Eternal player. Like, I don't play on Ultra Nightmare every fucking day. But yes, I agree that it should be reverted and revised somehow, whether that be the unaltered versions would be master levels, or whether the difficulty slider will determine, which enemy goes where. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. Please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe for more videos. What do you think about the Ancient Gods Part 1? And I do have some videos about the Ancient Gods Part 2 coming out. Fuck, that is going to be a can of worms, dude, because the Ancient Gods Part 2 has been mixed, to say the least. Not even among fucking game journalists and reviews, but just fans of the game in general. And, people will often say that, like, the biggest fans of a franchise, or the biggest fans of something, are the ones most likely to bitch. Not in a bad way, I'm not saying bitch in a bad way, I'm just saying, like, they love this thing so much that they want it to be perfect, and anything less is, not good enough. They want perfection, they want the best for their favorite franchise, so they're going to bitch about it the most, they're going to be the most vocal about it. That's just the way it is for any pop culture franchise, Doom, Star Wars, I don't know, fucking Dragon Ball, whatever. It goes for everything, really. Batman, I don't know. Oh, and one more thing before I go. If I have to hear one more fucking time fucking game journalists won because they made the game easier, id Software bowed to the game journalists, I'm going to fucking blow my brains out, because I am so sick of hearing about game journalists from these fucking Doom Eternal fans. I mean, talk about fucking gatekeeping, bro. I mean, fuck, dude. Like, is anyone with me? Like, does anyone get tired of people bitching about games journalists? Like, let's add a games journalist mode. Like, shut up. Like, like, you're seriously being that nerdy about it to where you have to fucking criticize game journalists because they're not good at video games? Like, are you kidding me? Like, whatever. It's just nerdy as fuck, dude. Anyway, see you guys next time. Bye. Fuck's sake.